Math 102, example 2.8.2. So now let's see another type of example for quadratics. Here I've got a kite flying on a string. That string is 130 feet long. And we would like to know how high is that kite above the ground if that height is 70 feet more than the horizontal distance from the person flying it. Now, just to make things easier, we're going to assume this string is being held at ground level. I like to joke that I fly kites with my feet. So here's my kite, here's my string, here's me. So again, I am flying this with my feet. So we've got both a horizontal distance and a vertical height, because that kite's not directly overhead. So this kite string is 130, and again, we'd like to know how high is that kite above the ground if that height is 70 more than the horizontal distance. So if I call this x, this is x plus 70. We do have a right triangle here, so that means I'm using my Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Remember, c is the hypotenuse, the side opposite the right angle. So here it's x plus 70 quantity squared equals 130 squared. My problem does not make any mention of a maximum, so unlike the previous problem, I'm not finding the vertex. I am just solving this equation. All right, let's square out that binomial. Remember, that does mean to multiply it by itself. So squaring that out, I get x squared plus 70x plus 70x plus 4900 equals 16,900. Now remember, I need to have a 0, so let's add up the x squares, let's add up the 70x's, and I am also subtracting that 16,900. And if I do that subtraction, I will get negative 12,000. Now at this point, I'm going to factor out a 2, just because they are all even, and smaller numbers generally make my life a little bit easier. Remember, any constant that we pull out in front, we can just cross out. It does not affect our final answer, because 0 divided by 2 is still 0. Now, this problem is factorable, and if you can factor it, that's fantastic. Remember though, if you do need to use your calculator to help you out and use the quadratic formula, that is also perfectly okay. So again, I'm going to go ahead and factor, but again, you can use the quadratic formula if you need to. Now, numbers that multiply to negative 6,000 and add to 70, if I use 120 and 50, that does multiply to 6,000. So I'm going to make the 120 positive and the 50 negative so that it will add to 70. So that means I get negative 120 and positive 50 as solutions. Now, generally for story problems, it does not make sense to have negative answers, so I'm going to go ahead and cross that one out. Now, I have to be a little bit careful because I'm not actually done yet. My answer, I would like to know how high is that kite above the ground, which, the way I've labeled it, is this x plus 70 side. So, my x is correct, but I'm not quite done yet. I've got to do one final computation, and I get my final answer is 120. So please always check your answer. Make sure you found the thing that you needed to find, because again, sometimes we might have to do an extra step.